Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sports Not interview. And today we are discussing the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby, which gets underway on Saturday from Churchill Downs. And joining us today is our guest, Steve Byk, who is the host of SiriusXM Radio's At the Races. You can hear Steve every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., talking horse racing. And we're happy to have him here joining us. Steve is certainly no stranger to the Kentucky Derby. Steve is covering his 25th Derby this year. So congratulations to you on that, Steve. And tell us, does it ever get old covering such a historic event like the Kentucky Derby?
No, it really doesn't. There's the occasional weather problem that might put a damper on the proceedings. But coming here, I come for 2 weeks every year, and I stay afterward and for recapping. There's a special atmosphere, and it's not just the race. It's not just Oaks and Derby Day. It's the whole week. It's the Kentucky Derby Festival around the city of Louisville. I mean, essentially, the Derby, it's Derby 365 days a year in Louisville. It really does not end. As soon as Derby's run, the clock starts 364 days, to the next Derby. So it's a special sporting event. It's a special social event. It's a cultural event. It just intersects so much about, it's Americana. There's so many different ways to appreciate the Derby.
Yeah, you nailed it there with your description of it. Very well said. I want to jump right into it with you. I've been looking at some of the analytics because we often hear about analytics and we know it's a huge part of other sports, baseball, football, basketball, but it's also a part of horse racing. I've been looking at the speed ratings that are out there. Now for some of the people out there who are, looking to place a bet or two on this race and who may be looking for the best edge, how much weight do you put into some of those speed ratings that are out there? Is that, one of the major factors that we can use to gauge a horse that might have success in this race? Or should we be leaning more towards past performances, how they're running coming into the race, pedigree? What's your best way to get an edge when selecting a winner in Derby?
Well, the Derby is unique to some degree because of distance, because for the most part, this group will be going 1.25 miles for the first time. In recent years, there's a few races actually that precede Derby now that horses have run 1 3/16 miles, which is just half a furlong short of 1.25 miles. That's actually the same distance as the Preakness. But for the most part, these horses are all going to be running 10 furlongs for the first time. So there's a certain amount of uncertainty as to their aptitudes for it, their pedigree for it. But when you talk about determining a potential for likely winners, it does start with speed figures, and I'm what's known as a speed handicapper. My principal concern is how fast these horses have run, and the past performances. When you ask, is the past performance? Of course, the past performance is going to take really specifically how fast the horse ran is what the past performance is telling you. And also, where they were at points of call in the race. And when you weave all that together, you create essentially a scenario of likelihood of success. You then overlap that with the odds, and you make determinations and you build bets based on horses' likelihood and at what value they're offering, given their likelihood for success. And one of the fun things about Derby is you have to utilize horses that aren't going to win, but that have real potential to run second, run third.
So we were just discussing speed ratings, and of course, the favorite in the race, Journalism, who's the 3-1 favorite, is rated as the fastest horse in this race. And he drew pole position number 8, which I know based on what you've been saying on your radio show, that you feel that's a good spot for Journalism. Explain to us what it is about Journalism that makes him such a favorite for this race, in addition to the speed rating, but also the significance of drawing pole position 8.
Journalism comes into this with a body of work that is instantly recognizable as being the best of these 3-year-olds. He's the fastest coming in. He's got a style that is very conducive to the way this race is going to unfold. Physically, he's a presence and a dominant presence. He's frankly an intimidating horse physically, and he really comes into this, by my way of thinking, a lot like Barbaro did when he won. And he didn't go favored actually that day. Sweet Northern Saint did, but he was a dominant winner, and was clearly the best horse. In retrospect, it was easy to see that he was the best horse. I've got the exact same feeling with Journalism. He can adapt to the pace. The 8-hole is perfect for him because there's speed to his inside. There's going to be 3 to 5 horses inside of him that are going to go establish early position down the stretch, past the stands for the first time. There's another 2 to 3 horses to his outside. Admire Daytona, one of the Japanese horses, East Avenue, Brendan Walsh's runner-up from the Bluegrass, and then Owen Almighty. So there's 4 to 5 horses inside, 3 horses outside. They're going to headlong toward the turn. And this gives Umberto Rispoli the opportunity to establish position basically behind the speed and in front of the closers. There's an equal number of late runners in this race: Sovereignty and Flying Mohawk, Final Gambit, and Sandman. You've got a bunch of horses that are going to basically drop out of it. So there's 6 or 7 horses in front, 5, 6 horses in the back. That leaves room for about 5 horses, of which Journalism will be one, that have room to operate. And essentially, Rispoli can set up shop wherever he wants, probably in the 2 to 3 path. He doesn't want to go wide. He doesn't want to confine himself to the rail. He's going to be basically sitting in the 2-3 path. And then when he's ready to move later on the backstretch, probably approaching the turn based on the pace, he'll make a run and he should reach the front at the top of the stretch. And I think he'll run away from this group, honestly. I think he'll blow this race apart.
Really? Wow. Okay. Strong statement there. Good to know. Now I know the horse doesn't have many flaws, and I know you feel strongly about Journalism winning this race, but what do you think? I was talking with Byron King from bloodhorse.com. One thing that he pointed out that he thought could work against Journalism is the fact that some of the other races that he's been in, obviously the field is much larger in the Kentucky Derby than what he has seen in some of these other races that he's won. Do you think that could play a factor at all here?
I'm not worried about it. In fact, in the Santa Anita Derby, in his last race, preparing for Saturday, he actually encountered plenty of trouble. And even though it was a 5-horse field, he had a target on his back. He got pocketed on the inside, and it took quite a while, and it took quite a bit of patience from Umberto Rispoli to wait until he had an opening. Once he did, he was able to kick outside to the 3-path and run down Baeza. And that took some doing, and it actually, I think, is an experience that's going to benefit him on Saturday. But as I was talking about the way in which you've got the speed and you've got the closers, he should be basically in space. He should find a comfortable spot and be able to find a seam. I mean, can something happen? Can a horse or two stop in front of him and force him to check? Yeah, that happens. But you're going to have to count on Rispoli here to find a basically a comfort zone that leaves him options. That's what you leave the jockey to do. It's you tell the jock, ride him like you own him. He's your horse for these 2 minutes and 2 seconds, and you go out there and find the best path. And I know some people are questioning Rispoli, but I don't see why he's a problem any more so than anybody else that's riding in this race. So I'm not worried about a larger, bulkier field inhibiting journalism, when it comes to finding room to run.
Okay. And, you mentioned Rispoli, the jockey, and I've been watching the new Netflix series, Race for the Crown, which gives you a really good kind of behind the scenes look into the life of a jockey and a trainer as well. So that kind of leads me to the next thing I want to discuss with you. When you look at the combinations of trainers and jockeys that are in this race, the best in the business, of course, but is there a duo that you think forms the best one and gives them the best opportunity to win this race?
Well, when it comes to that, you start with the horse, and I mean, there's no jock that can necessarily elevate a horse that that under most scenarios can't win. Or shouldn't win. And then people are going to say, well, Rich Strike won, and whoever else, Mind That Bird won. And yes, they did. Those wins came in extreme conditions, meaning scenarios where the pace provided the opportunity for a meltdown. A horse that is, if they ran the race 100 times, a horse wins that wouldn't win more than a handful. And yeah, that can happen. And there's going to be an honest, fast pace here, but you can't take a rider and suddenly make a horse 12 lengths better. Just by virtue of him being aboard. There's certainly riders that will get along with certain horses from a style standpoint. And in fact, one of the best answers to that is Sovereignty. Bill Mott, the Fountain of Youth winner and the Florida Derby runner-up, with Junior Alvarado. Junior Alvarado is an outstanding route rider, a guy that actually has a positive ROI in 2-turn races over his whole career. And that's quite something, actually. Junior suits Sovereignty really well. That's a terrific matchup. Who else might be a Martin Garcia? Technically, I mean, I think Citizen Bull is up against it, but Martin Garcia is a speed rider, a gate rider, and a guy that is known for riding on the lead. And Citizen Bull fits him. One interesting jock that it ends up not being in the race is Luis Saez, and Louis lost to Pan Street when he got hurt the other day. Came out of the workout with a condylar fracture, and Luis Saez was a guy that does a terrific job drafting near the lead. He was a perfect fit for his mount, but he's sitting on the sidelines right now. So there are absolutely riders that fit horses, but no rider, the jock is riding the horse. The horse isn't riding the jock.
Well said. Well said. Now you brought up Citizen Bull. I'm glad you did that because I wanted to ask you about Bob Baffert, and he's back at the Kentucky Derby after the 3-year suspension, and he's looking to make history at this Derby with his 7th win, which would be the most of any trainer. He's got Citizen Bull, and then he's got Rodriguez. You touched on Citizen Bull a little bit already, but which one of these horses do you think gives him the best opportunity to make history?
It's a good question, and I don't think Baffert is thrilled with having both of these horses draw inside. I mean, particularly Citizen Bull, and the one hole actually already cost Baffert. He would already have a seventh winner if Looking at Lucky hadn't drawn the rail. Looking at Lucky would have absolutely won that Derby had he not drawn inside. And that was the old gate, which was a bigger problem. When they used to have the 14 horse gate and then the auxiliary gate, the main gate had to be even closer to the inside, and it made it even more difficult to be in the one hole. It's gotten a little bit better since they made this new 20 horse gate, which is to the credit of Churchill. But it's still a challenge because as they hit the main track, come out of that little chute, the horses are cascading down from basically from the 8, 9, 10, 12 out to the 20. Those horses are all trying to make their way over before the turn the first time past the stands. And it makes for a real challenge for the inside horses. They've got to be used aggressively early to gain position so that they don't end up getting shuffled back further than they care to. Now, there's a couple of horses, and that includes Final Gambit in the 3-hole, that is going to drop out of it anyway. But at the same time, he's a horse that you don't want him getting a lot of dirt in the face. That's something that Brad Cox has to be concerned about. They would have preferred to draw outside. So Baffert doesn't want these inside posts, and Citizen Bull's hand is completely forced. I mean, they have to go. Rodriguez has got natural speed. And he is probably going to be ridden early to gain position. So, Mike Smith gets out with him. He'll then make a decision. He'll look outside to see where East Avenue is. He'll see where the Japanese horse is. If they hesitate at all, you could probably anticipate that Rodriguez goes to the front. I think that if you had to ask Baffert, who do you want making the lead and hitting the turn first, I'm gonna think it's Rodriguez. Citizen Bull. This is such a tough equation. I think, frankly, whichever one breaks better, and maybe they're not even going to worry about each other, and whoever breaks clean and gets an early position and gets their head and their shoulder in front, it just goes on with it. I don't think he wants them dueling, but it's one of the great questions of this race is which Baffert is going to be more intent on the lead. I think they both have a puncher's chance to win. I think Rodriguez might be a little bit better suited to hang around longer. I'm probably going to use neither on any of my tickets.
Okay. And then, for our betting friends out there, which horses, when we talk about long shots, is there a horse out there that's caught your eye that you think has an opportunity here, or horses that you think might be good value plays?
Well, there's no shortage. There's no shortage of value to be had in here, and whether it's a horse or two or three that are going to be running late and have a potential to pick up a piece as an exacta horse, a show horse, a superfecta horse, or even the high five finish fifth, you've got a lot of options here. The horse that's probably the two horses that I'll use prominently that'll be the best prices that are win candidates are Burnham Square, Ian Wilkes, who's going to go into this 12-1 and probably ends up around there, somewhere between, it's probably around 12 to 14-1. And then there's Grande, Mike Rapoli and Todd Pletcher in the rare position, with John Velasquez, no less, the rare position of coming in a little bit under the radar. Famously, Rapoli and Pletcher have come here with two favorites in the last 10, 12 years. Obviously, there was Forte 2 years ago. There was Uncle Mo. They both ended up having to scratch. Fierceness last year was really not a complete horse at that time early in the season. He's running on Friday actually in the Ali Sheba. So they've come with high profile horses that have been well bet. This is an unusual circumstance. This is the runner up from the Wood Memorial, who was wide on both turns, was giving away a lot of experience, and ended up finishing a terrific second on a racetrack that was playing kind to Speed, Rodriguez. And yet Grande maintained a proximity to Rodriguez and closed on a track that wasn't kind to that style. So I think there's a lot to like about Grande, and he's 20-1, and you're certainly going to get north of 15-1. At the least he's going to be is 15-1. So in terms of two middle price, double digit long shot, quote unquote, that can win, I would say both Burnham Square and Grande. Then you've got the two horses of Steve Asmussen, and Publisher is a maiden. He's 30-1. Tistastic won the Louisiana Derby at 7-1. They're both going to be 20 and 25-1. Both of them are eligible for board hits. You've got countless options on this topic. The horses that are going to be closing, but at shorter prices, includes Sandman and Sovereignty. But these are horses that are going to be mid-pack or further back at big numbers. I would say the two Asmussens, Burnham Square and Grande. Those are the four that I would key in on, and I would be willing to bet two of them. Two of those four will be in the superfecta.
Okay, and you said journalism by a long ways is what you said to us. So
journalism's winning this race, and something would have to go monumentally wrong for him not to win. He's the best horse coming in, and there is not a thing to dissuade you from believing in that. And the people that say, "Oh, well, he's going to be 5-2 or maybe even 9-5." Okay, we just talked about 6 or 8 horses that are going to be anywhere from 8-1 to 15-1 to 25-1. Put them together, and even if you're intimidated by the vertical bet by tries and supers, well, you can use a horse like journalism at the end of the Oaks Derby Double, the Oaks Turf Classic Derby Pick 3. There's the $3 3-year-old Pick 3, the Pat Day Mile, the American Turf, and the Derby. I mean, there's ways to utilize the favorite, quote unquote, that will pay very handsomely. So the people that say, "Oh, I can't bet a favorite in the Derby," why? What, you don't like money? It's just it's a silly stance.
Well, great insight as always from our guy Steve Byk. And Steve, I know you have a pre-race show on Saturday. Tell us where we can find you on Saturday.
Well, Saturday, the NBC Sports Radio show, we do 2 to 5, and we'll have 4 races, on the card, basically, that we'll talk about, we'll handicap, and we'll listen to. Plenty of interviews. Dave Grenning from the Racing Forum. Callie Francois is on hand, former rider. We'll get Callie's insights. I've got Nick Luck from NBC, Jerry Bailey and Randy Moss, and much more. It should be a terrific 3 hours to get everybody ready for the main broadcast 5 to 8, whether it's on television or whether you're listening on SiriusXM, Sirius 158, plus SteveByk.com as well on the stream for us. And of course, Monday through Friday, we're doing the show 9 a.m. to noon every day.
That's right. I'll be tuning in. I've been tuning in for a couple weeks now. I'll be tuning in again all week and on Saturday as well. And don't forget to check out Steve on X at Steve_Byk. That's BYK. Steve, thank you as always for being so generous with your time. And we appreciate all your insight. Thank you very much today.
My pleasure. Happy Derby, as they say, and get lucky, Evan.